can't even count the ways that Donald Trump's ethos is different from the globalism, environmentalism, and socialism, corporate socialism of Davos. So it's very interesting to see the contrast. Now, of course, at its core, Davos is about making money. Don't let anyone fool you. Uh, but there is an ideological undercurrent. So, anyways, here I am on Davos walking down the main street, and I see, and by the way, just to explain things, this is a ski town. This is a sports village. It would be like Aspen, Colorado, or Banff, Canada. And all along would be little restaurants, little cafes, outdoor athletic stores. And there's a few of those that are still open. Like, for example, here's the Rolex store with fancy watches and jewelry. But as you can see on this main drag, I'd say 75% of these shops and stores rent themselves out to different sponsors for the week and turn it into sort of a theme park. So it would be like a movie set. So, for example, over there is the India Pavilion, and they put up their signage, and on the main floor there's some sort of trade booth. Obviously, that is not there the other 51 weeks of the year. So the whole street is transformed, and there are, there's a convenience store that's open and some hotels that remain open. So I come upon this America House, I think they call it, and I thought, that's out of place because, although a lot of the money here is American, there is sort of a Eurocentric view to the World Economic Forum. And I went in there thinking, wow, how does that work? Because I know that Donald Trump, although he's speaking at the World Economic Forum today by a video link, he's not really in sync with a lot of the World Economic Forum values. So I go in there and I just went, well, this surely is not an American pavilion. That's not the kind of thing that the United States would do. They had the stars and stripes, like it was over the top Americana, which I love, by the way. But it's a trick. The whole thing's a trick. Whereas that India pavilion is truly the Indian government. And the Ukraine pavilion truly is the Ukraine government. And the Mongolia pavilion really is the Mongolian government. That is a false front. That's perhaps one of the most anti-American companies at Davos. You've probably heard of it. It's called McKinsey. It's a consulting firm, but it's much more than that. And over the course of the last few years, few companies have been more complicit with working with communist China than McKinsey. They are awful. They are up to their eyes in the fentanyl trade. McKinsey is a diabolical company. But if I had to sum them up in one phrase, it would be anti-American. The absolute gall of the disgraceful company McKinsey using the symbols of the United States of America to sell its pro-China, pro-communist propaganda is an outrage, but just one of the many outrages here at the World Economic Forum. I don't understand what a lot of the companies along the main strip here in Davos do. Their names are obscure. I don't get it. There's Intel down there, and their message is AI inside for a new era. Now, I know what Intel is. When I grew up, they were sort of the microchip company, the superconductor chip company. So AI, maybe I get it. And here's a building called AI House. I have no idea what they do. They talk about breakthroughs and promises. I suppose that's what AI really is, making promises. There's so many companies here trying to say AI. It reminds me of my home province of Alberta, where liquor stores are privatized, and they have Liquor Barn and Liquor Depot and Liquor Armageddon and Liquor Corral. That's what it feels like here. There's AI House and Intel AI, and there's about 100 pop-up startups, some obscure, some well-known. Everyone's trying to get in on the gold rush of AI. How much of it, though, is a breakthrough and how much of it is just an empty promise? I suppose that remains to be seen. I don't know if you're old enough to remember in 1999, 2000, the dot-com bubble. There was an enormous amount of money flowing into anything with a .com. Just anything at all that just had the word .com in it would get money. Then there was a bit of a crash. The bubble burst, and there were some resilient companies that actually had something and moved on, but a lot of the garbage was cleared out, the puffery. We might be seeing the same thing on AI, but it makes me chuckle. I have no idea who these people are, But if we see AI Armageddon, well, that's actually the one I'm worried about. I'll keep you posted. Behind me is a church. Now, 51 weeks of this year, it's a real church that is really used by congregants. But 1 week a year, the church is taken over, the pews are emptied out. I haven't been in myself, so I don't know what they've done with any holy ornaments, but they transform it into a corporate commercial sales booth. And this year, it's CNBC, the TV channel. They call it the Sanctuary, which is a bit of chutzpah. Come inside for panels and talks. Last year, if I recall, this same church was rented by a cryptocurrency, if I remember correctly, called Filecoin. Crypto was the hot wave in years past. Now it's AI. But this is what I mentioned before. We saw some CNBC kiosks and buildings back there. This is one of the most expensive places to rent in all of Davos because it's just steps from the inner circle there, and it's prestigious and it's very large. Now, part of me is sort of grossed out that they would put pagan, anti-Christian journalists in a house of God. That's almost like renting it out to the Satanist convention. But another part of me, the more practical side, thinks, well, if the church can get $1 or $2 million, and that's what it would be for a week during Davos when prices quintuple in this town, maybe it's a sound decision pragmatically to make $1 million to evacuate your church for a week and use that money to pay for the entire year. I can imagine you could cover quite a lot of costs for $1 million. I don't know. I'm just imagining the debate that goes on amongst the church leadership. But this goes back to my earlier point about journalists. If you're a reporter for CNBC and your company just spent $1 million or $2 million, and that really is what it is, to get a building like this for the week, and to get the kind of access that Klaus Schwab, that's what Klaus Schwab is selling. He's selling access to powerful people, access to money, and the two meet. There is no way on God's green earth that you are going to make a fuss and cause trouble and ask accountability style questions if you are a formal 7-figure part of this event. There's just no way. And that's why I chuckle when I bump into Richard Quest, the CNN journalist, who insists that he's independent. And no, the hundreds of thousands of dollars that CNN pays, that's just for hotel rooms. Anyways, that's what Davos is like.